And we are live tonight, and as promised, we are going to talk a little Joker and Batman tonight. So I decided, since pretty much nobody will agree with me, this show is going to be called VsAll. And it might become my Wednesday show. We'll see about that. I was actually going to have all this on, because, by the way, this is the jacket I was wearing yesterday. Check that out. Gotta love Finn Balor. But I am doing this video, by the way, as you notice, I don't have my hat or my glasses on. I should get my glasses on now. But I am doing this show because there's a lot of stuff that pisses me off about the new Joker movie, and people seem to think that this was the best incarnation of the Joker, and I keep telling them flat out, he didn't actually play the Joker, so how can this be the best incarnation? Remember, the movie is called Joker, not the Joker. Anytime Batman and anybody ever refers to the Joker, they always make sure to say the. It's an interesting thing, but I started to notice a lot when I started watching people reviewing the movie. As they were reviewing the movie, I seen a few of them start to say the Joker, and then they immediately corrected themselves and said, I mean, Joker. And that is the most telling thing in this whole big thing. But what ended up making me journey to this day, doing this show, was on Monday. Now, I know this was probably 100% fake news, so take that with a grain of salt. But I was scrolling through Facebook and I saw Bradley Cooper eyed to play Batman in the next Joker movie. Okay. What part of this times table do people not understand? The Joker or this version of Joker, Arthur Fleck, is 45 years old in this universe. Batman is 8 years old. If you go through, and now we're going to start getting into the actual history and everything, on all accounts, Bruce Wayne, Thomas Wayne, and Martha Wayne were exiting the theater as they watched The Mark of Zorro. As they exit the theater, they go down Crime Alley. And that's where typically Joe Chill tends to meet them and kill them in almost every incarnation. Okay? Now, in this movie, it is a guy with the symbolic Joker mask on. And what's funny is we see all this, and then we see Arthur Fleck having the memory of this. It tells you that the movie itself does not exist. If anything, because remember, every time in the movie when anybody was behind him, when anybody was appreciating him, holding above everything, it was always in his mind. This is nothing different. So, in my opinion of the whole thing, the entire movie doesn't actually exist. And honestly, I think that's a cop-out, and that made me more pissed off. So he's having a memory of that. But, again, we're not going to completely focus on the movie. I'm just using that as a reference point. Now, let's go into Batman, because this is Batman, Joker, me versus all, or just versus all, because I'm sure nobody shares my same opinion. Batman, at the age of 8, he was basically a typical kid. Ultimately, every account that you have of Batman before the time of his parents' murder, he wasn't anything special. He was just a normal kid. Now, in different iterations of Thomas Wayne, he can go from this savior of Gotham, that he was kind of almost like a white knight of Gotham, to doing some despicable things. But to me, if you look at the character of Bruce Wayne and what he is actually trying to do, I feel like he had to have a good a good image of his dad. Now, to be truthful, his dad could still do some wicked things, and Bruce just doesn't know about it. I guess that works. I guess. I don't like that version. I don't think if you had somebody I've read some like honest, despicable things on some versions of Thomas Wayne. And then of course in Flashpoint we get the Thomas Wayne where he was the survivor. Him and his wife both survived. And actually I really wanted to see the Flashpoint movie, honestly, because I just wanted to see the female Joker, which is Martha Wayne, versus Batman, which is Thomas Wayne. So it's very, very intriguing. Now, one thing that doesn't make sense about that, if you go into every incarnation of Bruce Wayne, the reason why he chose bats, it was the one thing he fears. He fears bats. He also has PTSD from his parents' death. That's why several of the movies have him having flashbacks of it, which is where we kind of get to the point where we're like, okay, we've seen them get shot. Poor Martha and Thomas Wayne, they've been shot like 500 times in the last 10 years. But it doesn't really make sense for Thomas Wayne to become the Batman because it's more attuned to Bruce, and Bruce only kind of came across that later on. Now, after the age of 8, this is where everything starts to change, and where comic books have really altered and changed everything that they know about Bruce Wayne and trying to figure out why would this kid become the Batman. And honestly, the best version of it, I really love, especially you've seen it in the Christopher Nolan version, that when Bruce gets taken to the police station, Jim Gordon is there. He's just a beat cop at that point, puts a jacket around him. He's showing he's very caring. I love that version of it because that makes sense later on in life. And this is what something like Smallville got very intriguingly right. Like, why doesn't Superman ever just defeat Lex Luthor? Because he still sees his friend. I absolutely love that. So bringing the Jim Gordon into it, it becomes this very good dynamic of why does he work with Jim? Besides the fact that Jim is just an incorruptible badass, it's because he had that connection when he was younger. So it's a really good incarnation. But this is where people are getting really messed up with this whole, oh, we're going to get a Joker sequel because it made so much money. Yeah, there's a huge possibility. But the problem is everybody's wanting them to jump the gun. And this is why I'm doing this video to begin with, is the fact that if you want to sit there and argue and find a way for a Batman to face this Joker, you don't know what Batman went through. You do not know what Bruce Wayne has to go through. Now, I was going to do all this research and have complete facts, but my computer's still kind of messing up. So I'm going to go off of the stuff that I know in my head. I don't have all accurate numbers, but bear with me on this. Bruce Wayne is a master of multiple martial arts. I think if I'm remembering correctly, it's either close to 20 or over 20 different disciplines in martial arts. Now, go into the real world for a second. Now, you go down the highway, or not down the highway, but you go through cities and you'll see karate dojos everywhere. Every single one of them is different. My 10-year-old daughter is in karate. She's actually been in karate for almost 4 years by the time she will get her black belt, which is next month, actually. So 4 years. So that means she started at age 6, approximately. Now, Bruce Wayne being the normal human being, the normal kid at that point in time, to get his first black belt, you have to add an average of, let's say, 3 to 4 years. Because here's the other thing that you don't know about Bruce Wayne. He is actually not a natural athlete. He does not have like photographic memory or anything like this. What Bruce Wayne does is actually not easy for him. He is busting his ass to become this person. So to go from Bruce Wayne to Batman, let's just round it down to just, let's say the time he puts on the cowl, he mastered 10 different martial arts. The first one is always going to take the longest because, yes, once you learn the first one and you learn the basics of that one, when you go into the other one, you're probably not a quote unquote white belt, depending on which discipline you know. Some may not have the standard belt, but it still takes a while. And then you have stuff like Muay Thai. Muay Thai, yes, they show you how to strike, all that kind of stuff. But I knew a few people that took Muay Thai. They don't just learn how to strike; they learn how to get hit. Um, so the thing of the matter is, Muay Thai and a few different other martial arts don't always just focus on, your strikes. They focus on what happens when you get struck. If you can bring your body to a different level and get hit and take the hits as well as dish them out. So now you run into the biological standpoint of that. You can't rush that with Bruce Wayne. Now, I remember reading an article a while back that states they were going through the biology of Bruce Wayne, of what he had to do to increase his strength to the level that he has to do it while he's strengthening, let's say, his legs, his arms, his chest, everything like that. Other parts of his body start to kind of compensate for that. So you have to do an all around workout. Ultimately, what this person said, in order to keep every part of his body strong, which we're going to focus on the bones for this, the guy literally states that he has to go up to a brick wall and smash his head into the brick wall hundreds of times. Now, what does this do? If you go into the tiger form of martial arts, which I learned through Deadliest Warrior, they actually talked about it quite a bit. Tiger form of martial arts, their signature move involves taking their hands and basically jamming it into someone's throat, grabbing a hold of that, and just ripping it out. Now, there's no recorded time that this actually happened, but when they went into it, they said, this is how it's actually done. They take their fingertips and actually bash them against a brick wall, a brick, a rock, whatever. And what does that do? That creates minor fractures in your fingertips that once they heal, so they're hairline fractures, but once they heal, the tip of their fingers actually become extremely hard. So that is where the science comes into it. This is not a month-long process. This is years upon years of doing something so simple to strengthen one part of your body. So Batman has to strengthen every single part of his body. Bruce then has to become basically a beast of a man. And the thing of the matter is, we've had different Batmans. Going to the Batman Beyond, we have Terry McGinnis. He's a very different type of Batman. But going into around our day, Dick Grayson. Dick Grayson is a very interesting kind of counterpoint to Batman because Dick Grayson is a natural athlete. But what is the difference between Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson? Their fighting styles have to be so severely different because of that natural athleticism that Dick Grayson has. He does flips, he does cartwheels, he can do acrobatics, all that kind of stuff. Bruce, on the other hand, can't do everything that Dick does. And Dick can't do everything that Bruce does. So they are very opposite styles. Bruce Wayne is a bruiser, but he has also honed his agility, speed, all that, so that he can keep up with a lot of people. Now, ultimately, a true-on fight between Dick and him would be an amazing thing to see, but that tells you what kind of person he is. He is a bruiser, which, going into Batman versus Superman, when you have Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck standing face to face, strip the armor off. And I know some people right now are like really thinking about both of them buck-ass naked in front of each other. That's not what I'm saying. But strip the armor off so there's no padding, nothing, anything. Ben Affleck was about twice the size of Henry Cavill. And this makes sense. Superman is an alien. His strength does not come necessarily from his muscles. He hasn't had to work in order to gain muscle. So Henry Cavill, while he is still a very good in shape man, ultimately he didn't have to become this big guy, which in the comic books you do see quite often that Superman is drawn to be like this Adonis, like John Cena type physique, right? Ultimately, he doesn't have to be that. Truthfully, if you think about the biology behind it, Superman would actually, if we're still going into WWE figures, would probably look more like Randy Orton or Shawn Michaels. Still muscular, but doesn't have to be big. Now, going into other characters, someone like Diana Prince, same thing. She is a demigod. So therefore, her strength comes from a magical place somewhat. Then you go into someone like Aquaman. Aquaman being Jason Momoa now, which by the way is the best version of Aquaman. To make Aquaman a Samoan heritage type guy makes all the sense in the world. But going into Aquaman, yes, Jason Momoa is a big dude. But what is the difference between Jason Momoa, Wonder Woman, and Superman? Jason Momoa is full human, but Aquaman is actually half human. So while yes, he does have superhuman strength, his body could react more like a human because that's what he is. So going back to the Batman, he is 100% human, which is why he has to get his physique to match. And ultimately, he goes from there. So now we're talking about this kind of discipline. This is not a 10 to 15 years kind of thing. Like I said, the first discipline he learns could take up to 5 years, depending on which discipline, depending on the teacher. And the thing of the matter is, Bruce Wayne didn't just go to your local YMCA. He went around the world and trained with masters. Now, if you take that into account, no master is going to teach an 8-year-old boy. And an 8-year-old boy is not going to be traveling the world to learn all this stuff. So he probably did learn some basic self-defense skills, which is when you bring in Alfred Pennyworth. Now, in some iterations, he's not as much as in others. In others, he can be a total and utter badass, possibly working for the Queen, in the Queen's army and all that. So it makes sense that he would then teach Bruce, especially you have this scared little kid, a way to make him less scared. Because ultimately, Bruce will never show you he's scared, but Alfred has a different way of dealing with Bruce. As we go with the Michael Caine character, he said one throwaway line that is very, very important. He talks about hearing Bruce's cries through the halls when he was first born. And usually he's actually born in Wayne Manor, so that's actually really cool. So he would definitely teach him a way to hopefully overcome the fear of going outside. Now, the other thing that I'm really kind of interested in is what these years are like for Bruce Wayne. Ultimately, he turns his fear on his opponents, but that's not it. But now we go into other things. I'm moving away from that because that's my own headspace. Has no facts. I'll probably make that up as I go along anyway. But now we go into the other aspect. What is Bruce Wayne? What is Batman? Batman is the world's greatest detective, which is something that's going to be very interesting in this new incarnation that Matt Reeves are doing. Now, personally, yes, I'm very intrigued by this. It has a star-studded cast, and he said he's going to focus on that monarch of the world's greatest detective. So that's something that we have not seen. And you got Robert Pattinson, which I really hope he doesn't like bulk up too much, because I think trying to compete with Ben Affleck, I don't think they need to. I think if they're going to do the world's greatest detective, he doesn't need to be a bruiser right now. But that being said, now we're going into the world's greatest detective. Now, this is not about brawn. This is about brain. And this is something that Bruce could start at the age of 8. Gets involved, kind of goes, I don't want this to happen to anybody else. So then he starts learning. He starts learning how to be a detective. It's crap. And remember, he has to do all this while he's training to be a bruiser. This knowledge is not something that comes quickly. And remember, Bruce Wayne, while very intelligent, he is not the world's smartest man. He has to work very, very hard in order to gain this type of knowledge, which is why sometimes if you go into it, he does get outsmarted. And we'll bring that up later, but there are times where Bruce Wayne gets outsmarted. And the thing of the matter is, and this is the one thing you got to realize about every single one of the Batman villains, they are all very, very intelligent. Some we haven't seen too much intelligence, although I do think Tom Hardy did a really good job with Bane. But a lot of people don't realize that Bane is one of the smartest people that Bruce has gone against. Bane is a very, very intelligent villain. So if all of his villains have that intelligence, Bruce has to kind of step up his game all the time. He's always learning, always looking. Now, the other thing that Bruce does, he takes micro naps during the day, which going to that biology, it's very intriguing because like almost every few hours he'll take like a 15-minute like break, and he will basically be asleep for 15 minutes, wake up, and then he'll go along his day, which is why some of the times we might see him like literally on buildings next to the classic gargoyle. That might actually be what Bruce is doing. He's taking a 10 to 15-minute micro nap in order for his body to heal, regenerate, all that kind of stuff, because this is another thing that people don't understand. Your body does not heal unless you are sleeping. That's just how it works. Your body heals. I mean, technically, yes, your blood can clot, all that kind of stuff during the day, but your body doesn't fully heal unless you rest, unless you sleep. So that's why usually when everybody starts getting sick and everything, and they're like, nope, I got to keep going, I got to keep going, sooner or later their body will break down and they will fall. Bruce gets around that, but at the same time, this does take a lot of toil on his body. This is some crazy shit that he's going through. And this is why I keep telling people there's no way Bruce is going to put the cowl on any earlier than 25, and I believe 25 is pushing it. At 25, you're telling me that in 17 years, he has mastered near 20 different martial arts from around the world, studying not with just regular people. He trains with masters of this martial arts. And you're telling me in 17 years he has mastered every single form of martial arts that he has done. He has grown his mind into such an intelligent type thing. It's crazy to really think about that in 17 years. Most people in 17 years can't get half of what Bruce gets done. So this is where the time frame, I always don't understand what people think, because everybody wants to put him in that cowl as soon as possible in order for him to go against this Joaquin Phoenix Joker. Now, here's the issue, and now we're going to kind of go into Joker a little bit. Joker's history in the comics is that of very intriguing starts. Joker was not the arch villain of Batman. He's not the first villain. In fact, the first villain was actually Scarecrow. Joker, upon his first appearance, dies. And I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, even in his second appearance, he dies. This character was never supposed to live. This character was never supposed to go past one issue, but people like this character. Now, this is based upon a movie in the 1930s called The Man Who Laughs. I believe that's the full title. I just looked it up, but I didn't leave it up there. And if you actually look at even just a shot of that, it is clearly the Joker. This is 100% where they got the look from the Joker. I mean, this guy literally has a almost scarred smile, even though I don't think it is, but it's this huge smile, big, long teeth and just this crazed look in his eye. And this is the Joker that we have come to know. Now, yes, if you go through the history, you do find out in like the 50s and 60s, the Comic Book Association stated that we couldn't have that dark of things, which is why Joker started doing a lot more jokes, and ultimately the um, the embodiment of that Joker became Cesar Romero from the 60s Batman TV show starring Adam West and Burt Ward. But once the Comic Association was started allowing these people that are creating these comics to go to more darker path, we then go back into it. Now, what are the main difference between what we see in Joker with Joaquin Phoenix and Joker from the comics? Joker from the comics is a criminal mastermind. This is somebody that you do not cross. And when you get into it and you see that in Gotham, you have some serious players. Two-Face, Riddler, hell, Clayface even, but Mr. Freeze, all this, they don't fuck with Joker. Now, yes, they will fight him off, but they don't fuck with him because this guy is not normal. This guy has so many screws loose, but if you go into it, another researcher started looking at Joker and did kind of a thesis on him. And in his medical opinion, he's a psychologist or a psychiatrist. In his medical opinion, he stated that the Joker is not actually insane. The Joker is hyper sane. The difference is where we have basically Jiminy Cricket on our shoulder saying, you know, that's wrong. You shouldn't do that. And, you know, people that want to be good say, you know what? That's right. I shouldn't do that. And they walk away. Joker looks at it and goes, I shouldn't do that, but let's do it because I think it's funny. And that's ultimately it. He finds chaos fun. But going into the incarnations of him as well, going into the Heath Ledger, so many good points to the Heath Ledger, and he is by far the superior Joker that we have ever seen. And I want everybody to go back and watch The Dark Knight again. Watch it, leave it up to chance, and allows him to basically pull the trigger on him. Now, the photo that we see, Joker put his, they will end up hurting his finger quite a bit, but ultimately that hammer can't hit the pin. That's going to hit the bullet. That's going to cause the chain reaction to explode and fire the bullet into his head. So even if Harvey Dent pulled that trigger, Joker would block it and just strip the gun away from him. Joker was shown to be so very intelligent in The Dark Knight. That is Joker. Joker is a criminal mastermind. He has plans on top of plans on top of plans on top of plans. So many people have theorized in The Dark Knight that yes, we see this lead to this, lead to this, lead to this. But who's to say that the Joker didn't have plans going this way in case these didn't work out? In the interrogation scene, when Batman goes, where is she? He gives him the address of Rachel, but what he did is he mixed up the addresses to basically mess with Batman, ultimately. This is what Joker does. And the thing in the matter is, that is a pure showing of the fact that Joker can outsmart the Batman quite often. Now, ultimately, his own craziness and his own kind of playful mode typically leads to him losing at the end of the day, because ultimately he is chaos incarnate and it's just too fun. In the comics, in the movies, all that kind of stuff, Joker does not want to know who Batman is. I know they play around with that a lot, but in the comics, Batman finally confronts Joe Chill. Now, Joe Chill, we went into earlier, where Joe Chill was the guy that ended up gunning down Thomas and Martha Wayne in basically creating the Batman. He finally confronts him and sits there, and you have this old, like 60, 70-year-old Joe Chill sitting there. Batman comes in and he thinks this is it. And what he ends up doing is he removes his cowl, showing him that he is the cause of all of this. He is the one that created the Batman. He is the one that screwed over the entire criminal underworld of Gotham. Joe Chill did that. And then he leaves him alive. Now, this is very intriguing because of the fact that no shit, he left him alive. Batman will leave everybody alive. He leaves the Joker alive so many times. Although when you go into some iterations, people say, oh, wait, no, at the end of that graphic novel, he actually did choke the Joker out. But we're not getting into that right now. And like I said, the first two appearances, Batman does kill Joker, so to each its own. But what does Joe Chill do? Showing that he's still this petty, low-level criminal, thought he was a smartass, goes into the criminal underworld where Joker and many people are there, tells them, I know who the Batman is. Thinking he was going to get some stuff done, and then Joker basically has him killed. Because to Joker, it's no fun if he knows who's under the mask. We also see that in The Dark Knight. He basically goes, I'm going to pay this amount of money. I want to know who the Batman is. Otherwise, I'm going to kill everyone. And then what does he do once somebody steps forward? No, I no longer want to know. So if you guys don't kill him before he reveals it, I'll do it anyway. He doesn't want to. It's so much fun for him. And The Dark Knight, this is why I tell you, go back and watch it, and you want to see who the Joker is. That is who the Joker is. He basically states we are destined to do this forever. And ultimately, you go into the comics, you go into the movies, you go into everything. Joker does not exist without Batman because he doesn't know what to do with himself. He's like a dog chasing a car. He would never know what to do if he actually caught the car. Plain and simple. And that is ultimately it. Now, you go into the Joaquin Phoenix Joker. He is very sickly, very malnourished, so he can't bring any kind of brute strength. He's also shown not to be intelligent at all. Actually, he's kind of a dumbass. Trusting people, making stupid mistakes, and if you want to go into, oh, why do you keep thinking he's that much of a dumbass? He's literally playing with a loaded gun in his apartment and it goes off. Now, could that be a Joker thing? Yeah, as we saw Joker getting out of the truck in The Dark Knight, he has his hand on the trigger, but he doesn't react once it's fired. In this one, he's hiding it and turning up the loud thing. So this is a very different approach, and this is why it's not Joker. And he has a mental disorder that just causes him to laugh. That's the only mental disorder he has. It's a mental fuck up, of course, but he just doesn't feel right. Now, he doesn't feel right because he takes medicine, and that medicine blocks some of the chemicals going on in his brain that, of course, don't make him feel right. If you need to know anything more about that, think about some people that have anxiety and take pills. People will tend to say, I don't like taking the pills because I don't feel like myself. I have a few friends that actually have told me that. I've learned quite a bit about anxiety over the past couple of years, including the fact that I may actually have anxiety, and that's actually what might contribute to my sleeping problems. I'm not even kidding. Last night, I took a crap ton of sleeping pills at about 2 a.m. after I got off my show last night. I didn't end up going to bed until 11:30, and that was not for the lack of trying. I was in bed at about 3:30, 4 o'clock, and I just kept rolling and rolling and rolling. It sucks. But in the movie, ultimately, that's it. He's taking pills. He's not quite feeling like himself. And she said, when was the last time you felt okay? And he says, when he was in the asylum. Whatever. I really don't like the movie. I thought the movie was completely and utter trash, and I don't understand why people like it so much, because I don't even think it started off as a Joker script. Now, going back into the Joker, he does have a history in the comics. Now, yes, the throwaway line that every time I bring up that this is a horrible, horrible origin story for Joker, they bring up the classic line that if I'm going to have a past, I prefer it to be multiple choice. Just because that line is there does not mean that every origin story for the Joker makes sense and every origin of the Joker story should be a Joker story. This movie was clearly not Joker. This movie was clearly a different script, and if you actually know anything about the Joker, and if you actually know what it would take for the Joker to actually face off with Batman, you would see the flaws in everything that goes on in the entire movie, including the fact that the movie does not exist. That pissed me off more than anything. Because I hate that. I hate cop-out scenes like that. Oh, this entire movie? Yeah, it didn't really make sense. No. So we're gonna leave this little thing at the end to kind of go, maybe it happened, maybe it didn't. We're not gonna tell you. Such a cop-out. Give us a definitive ending. We've seen it so much in movies that say, we're gonna have 20 sequels. You can't even get done with the first one because you're so focused on the fifth movie that you can't get the first movie correct. And again, the age doesn't match up. But as far as the Joker origin story, the most universally agreed upon version of the Joker's origin is the vat of chemicals. Now, when he got thrown into the vat of chemicals, he was under the Red Hood persona, which the Red Hood persona in the comic books is a persona that has been donned by several people as basically a patsy, ultimately. People put it on and say, oh, no, I had nothing to do with that. I heard that was the Red Hood. They get that kind of done up, and then they put someone like him, which in most iterations, he's a failed comic, he's a failed everything, and he was doing this in order to make money. So they put him in that, and they basically protected him. So everybody kind of focused on him, didn't focus on the henchmen, and the henchmen were the actual masterminds. Now, in this, Joker gets chased, or in this case, usually Jack Napier, which was the Jack Nicholson character from the 1989 Batman, which is also the most common name for who he is. Ultimately, in the comics, that is not who he is, truthfully, because there's a comic stretch where Batman basically gets the chance to be a god, kind of, and he gets one question. He asks who the Joker is, and when he gets told it, he just is in a shock. I don't think they ever really announced what he was told, but it doesn't matter, and that's going to come into play. But so Jack Napier, under the Red Hood, is running from the Batman, and because he is not the most, you know, he's not a villain, he's not a criminal at that point, really. He ends up falling over a ledge and dropping into a vat of acid. That vat of acid bleaches his skin, turns his lips such a bright red, and turns his hair green. So ultimately, it's not actually face paint that he's putting on. Now, in the Heath Ledger version, it was face paint. But again, we don't actually know too much about him. But if you kind of put two and two together, he was quite possibly a soldier. But neither here nor there. So he does that, and by his appearance, now the chemicals also altered his mind and drove him to this weird place. That's when he starts donning the Joker Monarch and becomes the Joker. Now, from there, and this is going back into the Joker movie, besides being a criminal mastermind, Joker is very, very intelligent when it comes to chemistry. He actually mixed up his own Joker toxin, which in different iterations, other criminals usually want to get their hands on the Joker toxin for whatever reason. Now, if you go back to some of my some of my videos from the past week, my Black Friday thing, in Batman versus the Ninja Turtles, Ra's al Ghul and Shredder are wanting the Joker toxin. They want to mix it with the mutagen to basically cause a chain reaction that will turn everybody in Gotham into a monster and lose their mind. So, The Joker toxin is a very, very unique thing, and it's hard to combat. Batman has, and a few other people. Poison Ivy usually typically has an immunity to that because Poison Ivy has an immunity to most poisons. But again, now we're going into the movie universe. Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, there's no way he's intelligent. He would not be able to. He is not a chemist. He has nothing to him that says he could do this. Whereas Joker in the comics is just a very, very hyper intelligent person. And again, besides the fact that the other villains, while sometimes working with him, knowing very well they're probably going to get double crossed, but the ends justify the means sometimes, they also don't trust him, and they're constantly watching him because they know how intelligent he is. That is another reason why he's so respected to a point as this criminal mastermind, for lack of a better word, from this rogues gallery. Now, from there, now we go into this very, very simple thing. Joker in the comics cannot exist without Batman because it's the perfect counterpoint. Batman, dark, brooding, black colors, all that. Joker, this very bright individual who is laughing all the time. Now, in different movies that you can actually look up, The Dark Knight Returns, you find out Batman retired. What happens to the Joker? He ends up in Arkham Asylum. He never escapes, and he's catatonic. He legitimately does not know what to do without Batman so much that he literally disappears until finding out that he put the cowl back on. Go into Batman Beyond, Return of the Joker. What happens when Terry McGinnis, the new Batman, starts laughing? It drives him crazy. He doesn't want Batman. The whole point is Batman is so different than him that he can actually face off with the Batman. And he shows the intelligence in order to fight Batman. He needs that intelligence in order to combat Batman. Again, Joker on so many occasions has outsmarted the Batman. Ultimately, his own way of thinking does usually do him in at the end, plus Batman is constantly learning. So when Terry McGinnis starts laughing, it starts driving him crazy, and he's not thinking his plan through, and he starts to act more chaotic. Now, Joker, as chaotic as he is a controlled chaos. He's one of the most interesting comic book characters of all time, and people have said that. People have done studies, as I brought up before, on this guy. I just realized my font makes it look like I'm saying VsAll. I gotta change my font. Sorry, I'm looking at myself. But these are the points, and this is what was not shown in the Joaquin Phoenix Joker. He showed no intelligence. He showed no real craziness. Again, what did he really do? Break it down. Really look at what he did. He killed a few people with a gun. If that is so disturbing, I have a wall of movies that are so disturbing then. Because we have movies here that so many things get shot. And again, so him shooting the people on the subway, him shooting the host, that's a revenge game. Like that's literally him going for revenge. Now, it could be said that he did that at the last minute, because if you saw him prepping for it, he was ultimately planning on going there and shooting himself in the head. And he showed that. But he changed his plans. But again, he's reactionary. He doesn't have a plan. Joker always has a plan. And that's why this ultimately is not the Joker. This is Arthur Fleck. Arthur Fleck, by the way, they chose that name. You guys are also assholes. A Fleck? Really? Affleck? You really had to choose a name that basically kind of put up the middle finger to the last guy that played Batman. First of all, that guy didn't want to not play Batman. He just wanted a good Batman story, and you fucked him over. So, again, he's very reactionary, and that shows no intelligence whatsoever. Look at something like Deadpool himself. I'm actually looking at my 10-inch Funko Pops of Deadpool. Deadpool is a combination of reactionary, but he actually plans everything that he's doing out. But he's reactionary with skills. This Joker's reactionary with no skills. If anybody would have been there to actually attempt to stop him from killing Morty, it would have worked. Or if it was not the 80s, he would have been searched upon walking into the premise and the gun would have never gotten there. So again, this person is not intelligent whatsoever. And then again, you're trying to get to the point where you're like, okay, in the next movie, he's got to face Batman. Batman was 8 years old, so that means we have to get him in the cowl in less than 15 years, because in 15 years, this Joker is 60 years old. Nobody wants to see a 60-year-old Joker. I'm just saying. But if you try to put Batman in the cowl before he's ready, he is not the Batman. He is just somebody dressed up like the Batman. He's just somebody in hockey pads. Because that's the other thing. He also has to then go through military contracts to get his suit, has to work with Lucius Fox. Lucius Fox has to be willing to do this, and ultimately, he's not going to give it to a kid. There was a difference between Bruce Wayne as an adult showing his intelligence and showing his skill, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot that goes into it, and that's why you can't have a 20-year-old Batman. He's roughly around 30. But ultimately, let's say we somehow pull a Wonder Woman 84? I think it's 84. And we somehow thrust this Joker into a universe where Batman is now fully realized. What does Batman do? He beats the living shit out of Gotham's underworld. If Batman hits Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, he's dead. He does not have intelligence. He cannot compete with the Batman. The Batman would find him in nothing flat. He outran a couple beat cops. Wow. He does not have the strength to go against Batman. We've seen him multiple times. He is one of the skinniest human beings on the planet, unless you go with Christian Bale in The Machinist. This person has nothing in order to combat the Batman. This person would go down very quickly when dealing with someone who is there to stop him. Now, going into the movie itself, you keep thinking that this movie exists. There's a very easy reason why this movie does not exist, and it happens at the very end of the movie. What happens? He gets arrested at the Morty show, or whatever it's called. Then his fans smash into the police car. First of all, how he was able to get out of the police car after that wreck when the cops barely were awake, that's a different story. They put him on the car. Now, if you look, he's surrounded by hundreds of his fans. He outran 2 beat cops because of a few fans that did not know who he was. He put on a mask. So, again, he has hundreds of his fans who now know this is the person that we have been trying to emulate. This is the person that we have been looking up to this entire time. You're telling me that Gotham PD, which in the movie has shown to be very, very stupid as well, somehow got through that horde of people, re-arrested him, and took him to Arkham Asylum. There's a very, very simple rule in movies. If you don't see it happen, it didn't happen. That's how they bring people back from the dead all the time. If you don't see them die, then it didn't happen. They still are alive. He did not get rearrested. Next, he had memories that he should not have had. So ultimately, this is just a deranged individual that's probably reading the newspaper and putting his own thought processes into play. And again, he didn't have green hair at the end of the movie. He didn't have any trace of the green that he put in his hair. So you're telling me that either enough time has passed and his hair completely grew out again, or they let him wash out that dye, which would take forever if you know anything about green hair dye, especially the green that he did literally was this color. That would be me with my dark brown hair turning it to this color. It would take me forever to get it out. I had basically the hairspray shit that they sell on Halloween in red, and I just wanted to do it one time. I got it free, so I didn't care. I freaking did it. I had my hair, and it was barely red. Like, you could still see that it barely turned my hair red. I washed my hair about 5 times, and even then, if I took a paper towel or something after it fully dried, went across my head, it would be red. I had to wash my hair so many times just to get that out. And even then, you still saw traces of it in my hair. Joaquin Phoenix's Joker at the end of the movie had absolutely no green hair. So either a shit ton of time has passed for no reason whatsoever, or it never happened. He never left the asylum. And ultimately, the only thing that I truly believe is real is the fact that Bruce Wayne's parents died. Because I already know that to be a fact. So people constantly want a sequel to this? No. No. Again, this script, if you really, really break it down and look at it, this script was not a Joker script. And the creators have said it over and over again. They literally state, oh, we're not going to take anything really from the comics. We're just going to go in a completely new direction. You're creating a comic book movie, and you're not going to use the source material. Huh, what's interesting about that? Oh, all the other comic book movies, if you even attempt to not go 100% by the source material, people are ready to bomb you for it. But for some reason, Todd Phillips, Joaquin Phoenix, it's okay, you can do whatever the hell you want. Again, but I had preconceived notions. I think you had preconceived notions that no matter what this movie was, you were going to like it. Okay? Then, on top of that, and this goes into the sequel idea so badly, what do you want to see in the sequel? Batman. First of all, I got yelled at telling me that Joker can exist without Batman. And now for the sequel, you want Batman? You can't have your cake and eat it too. Like, you can't do that. You can't sit there and degrade me for not liking a movie, saying that Batman doesn't have to be in this movie, but then when you get asked, what do you want for the sequel? Oh, I want Batman in the sequel. You just said Joker doesn't need him. Kind of going back on that. But then the creators of the movie came out again and said, well, this isn't the Joker that we know. This isn't the Joker that faces, and listen to what I'm about to say. They literally stated, this Joker is not the person that faces Batman. How are you going to do a sequel where he faces Batman when this person, by the creator's own admission, never faces the Batman? In fact, they not only said this is not the same person, but this person is possibly the inspiration for the Joker that we all know, and amazingly enough, you can say this, we all love. This guy was the inspiration for that. What part of the Joker do you honestly think needed inspiration to do the things that he did? Huh? It makes no sense. Why would the Joker need inspiration? He doesn't. And the Joker doesn't like copycats. I mean, we see it where he kind of makes fun of the fact that Jason Todd now is wearing the red hood, and he goes, "Nah, I had a little more class when I wore that suit." That's kind of a direct quote from the movie Batman Under the Red Hood. But still, he makes fun of him. In, you know, Return of the Joker, while he works with the Joker gang, you notice that there's one member of the Joker gang that's kind of missing. Typically, when you watch Batman Beyond and you see the Joker gang, the leader of the Joker gang is always dressed almost identical to what the Joker would wear. But in Return of the Joker gang, not one person is dressed like that. Think about it. Why aren't they dressed like that? Because Joker literally shot them. He killed them because he doesn't like people trying to emulate him. He wants to be the one and only. He is ultimately does not want, and this is probably some of the times why when he joins up with Two-Face or Mr. Freeze or this, that, or the other, when he joins up with them, he ultimately ends up double crossing them because at the end of the day, one, he does not want Batman to die because it's too much fun. And two, if somehow Batman does die, it is not going to be by anybody else's hands. It's going to be by his hands. And then going into the Batman Under the Red Hood, the best thing ever happens at the end of the movie. Jason Todd reveals a bomb, and Joker gets this brilliant idea. And Batman goes to defuse the bomb, and Joker tackles him to the ground and goes, "No, this is better than I've ever hoped. It'd be me and you going up in a blaze of glory." That's what he wants to happen. He wants them to do battle over Gotham for the rest of their lives, and when they finally have the final battle, he does not want to win, he does not want to lose. He wants him and Batman to literally go together. He wants them both to blow the fuck up. And again, he also wants Batman to break his one rule. He has no problem if Batman kills him. He has no issue with that. He wants it so badly. And you saw that in a movie like The Dark Knight, where he literally states to him flat out, "You're going to have to break your one rule." And you see when he was being chased down by Batman in the new Bat Pod, he stood there right in the middle of the road as Batman is coming down at him. And what is he doing? He's like, "Come on, hit me, hit me, hit me." Doesn't even flinch. He wanted so badly. He's like, "Did I push him? Did I push him? Come on, come on." But in his mind, he knew Batman was always going to go around him. That's why when he turns around, he just has a look on his face. And then later on in the interrogation scene, he states, "You didn't disappoint." So again, this is ultimately it. You got to learn about this character in order to do this character justice. And that is why I did this video. That is why I'm so passionate about do not ever make another Joker with Joaquin Phoenix. And no, for everybody that didn't listen to anything I said during this thing, Jared Leto is not my favorite Joker. I actually attune him to being more like the Joker gang than the Joker. He looks like he's emulating someone. Whereas my favorite Joker of all time is Heath Ledger, if you take out the fact that, truthfully, my favorite Joker of all time is Mark Hamill, because that iconic voice. By the way, Troy Baker, you do a phenomenal job of emulating his voice. Kudos to you, man. But Mark Hamill is the classic Joker voice. He has the most Joker laugh. Whenever we think Joker and we hear his voice, we hear his laugh, we are hearing Mark Hamill. Luke motherfucking Skywalker is the greatest villain of all time. I know people are going to sit there and go, you just said Luke Skywalker, and then you said that Joker is the greatest villain of all time? What about Darth Vader? Honestly, comparing the two, fuck Vader. Joker is the best villain of all time. He is my favorite villain of all time. Batman and the stories behind it, they put so much intelligence into it, and that is why rewatch Joker. Everything that made the Joker great, everything that makes Batman, his history, his life, everything that's great about it is not in that movie whatsoever. Alfred sucked in that movie. That was the worst Alfred we've ever seen. The only good thing I will ever say is that eight or 9-year-old boy that played Bruce Wayne, he did not flinch, and he was a badass facing down people. But again, the movie does nothing for the legacy of these characters. The movie actually destroys the legacy of these characters, and people, because they like Joaquin Phoenix. I'm not a Joaquin Phoenix fan, only because I can't tell you another movie he's in. Other than, what's that? See, I can't even tell it that, where he actually, him, Johnny Depp, and I believe, was it Colin Farrell? Took over after Heath Ledger died, and they finished the movie in honor of Heath Ledger. By the way, that was the other thing. Joaquin Phoenix, if you watch the movie, he does a lot of odes to Heath Ledger. If you look at the smile that he puts on his face, one part is a little more crooked than the other. His makeup emulated Heath Ledger's version of the Joker quite a bit. So kudos to you for putting an Easter egg, but the problem is the entire movie is one big Easter egg. That's all it is. I swear, I got so sick of seeing signs that said Gotham. It's like they focused in on them. After a while, you can cover most of the sign. We get it. We know this is the Gotham State Hospital. We know we're in Gotham. We know that this is Gotham News Tonight. We know this is Gotham, 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 Gotham. And then they started putting all this movie did. It was a script that had nothing to do with Batman, had nothing to do with Joker, had nothing to do with DC lore. And to make it into DC lore, they loaded it with Easter eggs. The whole entire subplot of Thomas Wayne being his possible dad was ridiculous. Okay, that was weird. Sorry, my thing just crashed. But the subplot of Thomas Wayne being his possible dad was totally and utterly ridiculous. It didn't have to be in there. And that's ultimately what the movie is. The choices that they made, the stuff that they did, none of it had to do with Gotham, and nothing in it made it so that this guy, without a shadow of a doubt, is Joker, because he's not. And I find that to be the saddest part of all. People might sit there and think, oh, well, you just didn't want this movie to be made. No, 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 no. When they announced that they were going to do a Joker movie, I was more for it than anything else. But the problem is, I don't care about Arthur Fleck. You're giving me a Joker movie, and now everybody that actually likes this movie has literally stated, oh, he's only Joker in the last 10 to 15 minutes, and it's like a 2.5 hour movie. So we spent 2 hours and 15 minutes with Arthur Fleck and 15 minutes with what this movie has set up to be an actual Joker. And what is he? He is nothing. He's not a criminal mastermind. He's absolutely nothing. Sorry, but that's cold hard facts. He is nothing. He is just a man who wanted revenge. And that's not Joker. Joker doesn't go for revenge because nobody's stupid enough to cross him. And ultimately, that's sad. I'm the more and more I think about this movie, the sadder I get. But as you can see, I've pretty much gone through the movie again. I've gone through the characteristics, and that's the end of the show. So, what's new? What's different? Well, if you notice in the description below, I no longer have the GoFundMe pages. Instead, I have my new patreon.com/Suicide Kings Production. Yeah, pretty much I'm going to be trying to kind of get the ball rolling on my own production company called Suicide Kings Production. I am really excited about that. It's pretty much nothing right now, but the potential for it to be something is always going to be what drives me. As of right now, it's just these YouTube channels or these YouTube shows that I do, which I kind of like this VsAll format. I might do it every week for a while, but we'll see where that goes. But as of right now, I only have a $5 tier if you want to just join and become a Suicide King Productions Patreon. You can do that. I will give a shout out on this show. Furthermore, from there, once I get the ball rolling, I will add different tiers, different stuff that I want to do. I actually have so many things I want to do with it. I will let you know that sooner or later, once I can get kind of stuff going, I am going to probably have a tier where not only will I send you maybe a nice little plaque that has like the logo that I don't have right now. By the way, if you want to submit your own version of maybe a Suicide Kings logo, let me know. Put it in the comments below and we'll talk, because I definitely want to get that sooner or later. I have the name right now, and sooner or later I'm probably going to come out with t-shirts that maybe if you are a certain Patreon, I'll send you a t-shirt. I might send you a plaque with the logo, but I will sooner or later have a plaque myself. And basically, if you're a certain type of Patreon, your name will basically go on it. I have so many different things I want to do, but for right now, because it's just started, I've got the $5 tier. I'm probably going to do a $1 tier as well. Whereas if you just want to support the show for $1, that's great, because I could really use the help. This is as I will say over and over again, this is just the beginning. I have so much stuff that I want to do, and it's not going to be just contained on YouTube. I have books that I want to write. I have films that I want to do. I have more shows than this that I want to produce and I want to get out there. But money is always going to be a factor, and time and all that. And I have to put my time into my new job, get some money. It's Christmas season. I got a few things that I want to do. So again, my Patreon, you can read it down below if I'm not saying it slow enough, because I know I tend to talk a little fast at times, but it is patreon.com/Suicide Kings Production. And by the way, on Friday's show, we'll kind of go into why Suicide Kings. But for right now, like I said, like, subscribe, comment below, all that. I will be here tomorrow for Collection Addiction. We are going to be talking about the Joker's counterpoint, coming in the episode of the Batman animated series, Mad Love. Dr. Harleen Quinzel herself, Harley Quinn, is going to be the subject of my Collection addiction. We are going to go over some. I don't know why that keeps happening. I don't know. But anyway, so tomorrow's show will be Dr. Harleen Quinzel, aka Harley Quinn. We're going to go over some of my collection. I have shirts, I have artwork, I have pop vinyls, I have hats. I have so many things. So we're going to go over that. It will be Dr. Harleen Quinzel, aka Harley Quinn, part one. I don't know when I'll be doing part two, but of course I can't show you my entire collection in one show. We would be here for way too long. So join me tomorrow. Hopefully I stop having computer glitches. But anyway, again, like, subscribe, share, leave comments. Tell me how much you disagree with me or agree with me. Please keep it to an intelligent conversation. I have no issue listening to what you have to say, but as long as you actually don't just say, fuck you, Joaquin Phoenix was great. No, that is not a good argument. Let's get the discussion rolling. But again, patreon.com/Suicide Kings Production. That is Suicide Kings with an S production. This is only the beginning, guys, so thank you for any support you have. Thank you for watching this. And again, I will be here tomorrow and doing my collection addiction, and I will be here Friday with WT Fridays, where we talk a little bit more about Suicide Kings Productions. Anyway, see you guys later. Have fun and go watch Disney Plus. I just got it and I'm enjoying the hell out of it. Okay? Gonna go watch another episode of The Mandalorian. Peace. I am out.